So I wanted to get on just to show face. I really don't like that every week that goes by, my email says, okay, in one more week. And I'm always like, all right, well, I am really busy, which I am, but I've always said I'm always busy, but never too busy. And that is something that I don't know if ever existed before, but it's something that I believe I coined, or at least was appropriate and what I believed to be my commitment to everyone. So as you'll know, whether you email me, text me, things like that, I'm always very, I get back quite quickly. But for those that don't do that, they rely on the video call. And this is something I've been fairly tardy and, have not taken it to the 100th degree like I would like to. And the cause and effect that's in my brain, and again, with TED, everything is, what does this mean to this, mean to this, mean to this? Because I'm in like this behavioral science vortex that I can't get out of. In fact, every time I go anywhere, and by anywhere I mean like the grocery store, when somebody does something, I'm already thinking 10 steps ahead what they're going to do. And it's really not pleasant to have a conversation with me in actual polite society. And so I don't talk to people. But like my grandmother, right? Like that's your grandma, you could talk to her. So whenever she says something to me, I'm like, oh, well, that means this, 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 and it's going to lead to this, this, and this. And I've become a very unamusing person to talk to, right? Because people do enjoy just kind of venting a little bit. They know that they want a solution to things. But sometimes you have to understand that that challenge that is in that person's life is a defining characteristic of their day. Now, whether they celebrate that or not, or whether that's a good thing or not, is a whole different story. But that person, and like for instance, you've probably heard, anecdotal stories, like somebody is given a really, really bad diagnosis, right? They're going to die in 1 month. So they cry and their family cries and all of the really, tragic moments that come with it. So for that month, they live like it's their last day. And they celebrate and they see people they haven't seen before. They put their house up for sale. They do all of these things prepared to die in 1 month. They go to the doctor the day before their death day, and the doctor says, we missed it. That was actually, that was a benign tumor. It really wasn't anything. In fact, you're going to live for another 20 years. And in that moment, you would think that the person would be so happy. They're not. They're actually more miserable than ever before. In fact, they want to die at that moment because they had already prepared for it. They've already received the celebration of it. Their life has been defined by it. That's who they are, which is, far more, sadly, far more entertaining and far more loved than they were beforehand. A lot of people will find out that, the death of you brings a lot more people than the life of you ever would. And that's a really sad commentary. But the point of the story being, that's unfortunately, I ruined that for everybody. So if you're going to die in a month, don't tell me, because I'm just going to ruin that month for you. I'm going to be like, well, you have 29 more days. What are you complaining about today? And you're going to be like, you're terrible. And obviously, a little bit of dark humor in an anecdotal story, but I think you get the point. So anyway, so I want to be here. And of course, I'm putting my best foot forward with really silly tales of nonsense, right? But so let's kind of get to the business of it all. So everything is always 1 week later because it's almost like when you're a server at a restaurant, you're dependent on the bar, you're dependent on the busboy or busgirl, you're dependent on the kitchen, you're dependent on the hostess or host seating you. There's all these variables for you to actually perform that good service. Similar to what we're doing, right? So I'm dependent on our tech team, I'm dependent on myself in terms of completing white papers, completing the messaging of it all, kind of putting a cohesive, this is what we do. Also dependent on the ideas that spur of, well, where are you getting the money from? How are you going to do it? How does it sustain itself, right? So to that point, I've gotten a couple of emails since we released the white paper yesterday of people saying, wow, this finally, I want to put more into this, or you owe this back, only send me this, I want to leave this, right? So it's been well received, but again, it's fairly biased because it's the people within our community. But the bias is actually beneficial to us in the sense that there are people that we owe money to, like loans and things like that, not like people knocking on my door. Imagine if someone knocked at that moment, I would have died. But people that we owe money to that are saying, actually, why don't you not send that all back to me just yet? Which is really good, right? And to that point, we do have investors that could do a very, very large amount if they wanted to, right? Like one of our largest investors, and I've been with him for probably like 15 years now. Like actually, yeah, 15. He was back in my stockbroker days. Has more money than God, I guess is just a saying, right? But if I called him and said, hey, listen, this is the generational plan that we put in the white paper, and I'm not going to go much into it, but it's a really good deal, right? If you believe in what we're doing. Why don't you fund the 3 to 5 million yourself? I'll make the offer a little sweeter for you since you're going to kind of make this easy for me, and let's consummate. I think there's a good chance he would say yes. At the very least, there'd be a good chance we'd have an hour-long pitch back and forth. Hold on one second. Is that possible already? For those that are in TED Trades, all of my YPF just got sold. We just bought it like 10 minutes ago. All right, well, 20% gain. That's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry about that. I wasn't actually expecting that to happen so quickly. Yeah, today and so the last 3 days in TED Trades has been like the most profitable days I've ever known. Yeah, Phil, okay, good. It's not just me. I'm like, that was easy. That was easy. Okay, sorry. It just made me really happy. That was like, I'm not gonna say the amounts, but we just made a lot of money. Anyway, sorry, I got a little flustered for a second. So that individual, I think I have a lot of investors that would send us money. But anyway, so we have people that would send us money, but still trying to figure out options. No one expects a Spanish Inquisition. Oh, yeah. You would get along well with Elon. He's always doing Monty Python references, or so I've heard, right? Anyway, but the point of the story being, if we were to go ahead and raise the funds outside of Freehold Borough, it wouldn't be as sustainable as raising the funds within Freehold Borough. And the reason being, to raise those funds within Freehold Borough, which is the town that Ted's going to launch in, which is the town that I live in, there's a populace at large that participates, right? And a participant becomes an accomplice when you have the same goal. So for instance, if you went door to door and took in $3 per person, you'd have everyone vested into the goal, meaning they'd all have a vested interest, they'd all have a vested say, they'd all have a vested kumbaya of everyone wanting it to work. When you're talking about AI, if you have an outside private investor investing in your town, regardless of whether it's true or not, and regardless of the facts that you can provide, it will always be seen as skeptical. There will be a natural percentage of the population that will say, I don't know how or where, but I don't want to be a part of that. Some outside bajillionaire is going to privately invest in the AI for our town. That doesn't even make sense. And in fact, I think I can make a fairly decent argument that in the future, guardrails really should be in place that you cannot invest in anything that is outside of your locality because you have a financial interest and not a personal interest. And personal interest is by the root word person, and I think we can figure it out from there. So the point of the story being, as we delineate options, almost like a quantum, qubits, and all the rest, to constantly be, when I close my eyes, I'm getting into like deep coding mode of everything we do all day. But when we're deciding options, that if we select door number 1 versus door number 2, it brings us to door number 1, 2, and 3, and which door we select over there, which brings to that, it has to get us to the right outcome. So when I say it's a lot, the part that is the variable that really is never able to be communicated is that a lot of it, the definition of a lot in the pretext that I'm using or the context I'm using it requires just thought. And the thought requires just silence. And like, for instance, every morning I do a 6 mile walk and or run, right? And during that 6 mile, if I had somebody that said, hey, Aunt, you said you're always busy, you can never take a phone call with me, but you're like jogging for 6 miles every morning, why don't you take the phone call with me? It's quite easy to then deduce that the person is taking a look at the jog and saying, well, that's just for hobby. He's doing something for hobby. Well, health isn't a hobby, first of all, but that's outside of the scope of what I'm trying to communicate. That moment is allowing me to completely just drift off, and whatever comes to me to reasonably and freely accept it, and then mold it like the movie Ghost, right? Into whatever pot I can do. And that's actually almost like a decent reference because Patrick Swayze is like Ted. He's like holding me, and all right, anyone that's under 40 is never going to get that. But so be it, right? Go watch the movie; it's pretty good. So all of these ancillary and accessorizing almost come of those moments, and then the day is putting it together. So the white paper has everything that we wanted to, except there's one more feature that I have to recalculate some numbers, edit some sections, and that is the projections only factor in the demographic 18 to 64. And that's not because I don't think anyone over 64 is relevant. They didn't share that data, right? So you have the total population, and then you have the population 0 to 10, and then 18 to 34, which is weird that you don't have 10 to 18, and it's almost like it's the Bible, right? Like we're just going to leave out decades of like things, and then 64 and above. But I can do the math, right? This is the average age, this is the population growth or decline, factor out the knowns, and I could solve for X. But what I want to solve for is the percentage of the population that's 0 to 18. I want them to be included in receiving the distributions of TED as well, except their distributions don't actually go to them, their distributions go to the education system. Because what I believe is from 0 to 18, you have to pay your dues. The society at large is nurturing you. You know, you might be really smart at 15, but anyone under 18, you're useless. And that's not to say 100%, that's to say like 99.999. You're a complete knucklehead. You don't know what you don't know. If you think you know everything, you're even more of a knucklehead than the people that know they don't know anything or are learning that they don't know anything. And the large percentage of you, I would not trust to walk my grandmother across the street. And that's not to that's not to provide the connotation that you're a dummy or that you're malevolent. No, you're just useless. I don't trust you to actually do anything of consequence. And again, I'm using colorful language with a little bit of shock value on purpose, because I believe the majority of those should be paying their dues. And what I mean by that is when you have a system in place that's distributing one's wealth back to them, identifying it, capturing it, monetizing it, and securing it and distributing it, it should go to those that are actually responsible for you. I've always said, and those that have been Rhino for a long enough time know that teachers are near and dear to my heart, because I think it's and I don't want to say the only, but I think it might be the most notable profession where it's just abuse. Where you're taking someone and you're pulling on their heartstrings. They love teaching. They love children. And because they love it so much, you underpay them and completely abuse them. And I don't like it. And yet people still become teachers every single year knowing that I'm not going to make any money. I'm going to be poor. I'm going to have to get a second job. I'm going to be blah, 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 but I want to do it because that's who I am. It's almost like nurses, but nurses get paid well. And I know nurses are going to say beep, 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 and I'm fine with it. I get it. You guys have your challenges, but if I put you in a room next to a teacher, you'll say, man, I thought I was bad with no shoes. This person has no feet, right? So there's a starting point for everything, and maybe it grows. I have no idea. But I want that 0 to 18 to be going to the education system, in which case the community and locality at large would now have flexibility with their finances. because they couldn't just stop paying teachers because, hey, we're going to stop paying you because you're getting all this money. But teachers would then be making like 150, 200,000 a year, which, hey, listen, if that's what happens, I'm with it, right? Like I would love if the young community went and aspired to be teachers. The level and standard of teachers we would have would be beyond, and I'm totally cool with it. I don't think that's going to be the case though. So the locality would say, okay, well, now that we have like 5 years in a row where teachers are making like 200,000, it's kind of like we have firefighters that should be paid more. We have police officers that should be paid more. Bop, 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 bop. The reason that's important is because it scales. For any community to move funds from the education system to anything, there will need to be a vote. And the individuals that are going to be most up in arms about it, or the most responsible, or the most in charge of it, will be the teachers, because you're taking their money from them. Now, what the hope is that the teachers, seeing that they're so well treated and have the support and blah, 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 will say, okay, we understand. And as a part of the community, as mature adults that see these funds can be used for better things, we're in support of moving X amount, but for A, B, and C. And I think that conversation, or at least that sentence, allows that money to be moved to the most responsible area. Because these teachers who have been abused for like generations are not going to say, yeah, we're just going to give up 50,000 of our salary every year so that like Mayor A can go have 3, I don't know, assistants and pay for all of their abortions, right? Like whatever you guys are doing now, that's absolutely disgusting because you guys are dirtbags, we're not going to continue, right? But we do want to contribute to society at large. So I think that's the mechanism that allows that 0 to 18 money to fund into responsible proxies. And in those responsible proxies, you now have the town that has an interest in family. Because the higher the population, right, the higher the birth rate, the higher there's, I don't want to say producing assets, right? But you have children that are now collecting distributions that are being funneled back into education, which is a proxy for the locality. So if you have a local government that is looking and is highly incentivized to increase a birth rate, it's not like a button they press, you have to have pro-family policy. And pro-family policy, I think, funnels down to everyone's dinner tables. I think, because TED is never, and nor am I ever going to be in a position where I'm going to say, well, you need to do this. No, who am I to tell you what you need to do? But I will incentivize the thought logic that I do think produces the best outcome, and an outcome that I would say, oh, I wish I thought of, or I would have thought of that if given, right? Like something like that. So I need to revise the white paper to include that. Now, in that revision, what that's going to allow us to do is then move on to who is that white paper getting in front of. And I had a call with the NJEDA, New Jersey Economic Development Authority, on a new program that they're releasing for AI funding Friday. It wasn't just me, it was a couple of people. But I couldn't be on the call because my life doesn't allow me to do things like that as often as I would like it to. So they recorded it and sent it to me. I still haven't watched it, but it's on my to-do list to watch today. That, and I'm assuming is going to be a good plan, right? Like good way to raise money. That plus the other ones that we've already been approved for create a really fantastic dish, right? So we have government funding or government support to raise $5 million, and they will match it dollar for dollar. We have government support for, I think, 20% guarantee on losses. We have government support for, I think, 80% you can write off against ordinary income. And if you do the math, if you could be guaranteed against 20% losses and you can write off 80% of your investment as ordinary income, it's, I'm not allowed to say that out loud, but somebody with a calculator can figure out it's, and there was one other one. So I haven't really shared all of this because, again, what am I sharing it for? I haven't completed what needs to be completed yet. Like I'm still on this call right now saying I'm going to change things. But that will be the last adjustment. That last adjustment, then I'm going to aggregate and organize all of the funding offers we have. Then I'm going to put together all of our business license and registrations, plus the contract we have with the American Hotel, which is the centerpiece of town. And then I'm going to go knock on every mayor's door. And by every mayor, there's one mayor, but it's an expression, right? I want to put together a proposal that is nice presentation, right? A bound, glossy cover, blah, blah, blah. And then go hand it to the mayor and everyone in his team. I don't care if I have to hand it to everyone in the executive, or those that know me, everyone's going to get it. Because really the pitch comes down to, I have this, I want to do it right here. You're going to benefit completely. All of the money is spoken for, it's out there, it's being offered to us. Would you help us and co-sponsor, since you have a little more juice than we do? And if that's too much to ask, would you not endorse, but I guess sign off on that this is what we're going to be doing, and that you support our project, because we're going to take that into the investors, which are all going to be residents of the town. One or the other you're going to do, because if you don't, I'm going to run against you in 2027, 2028, and I would have already had this funded, and I'll let everyone know that you had the opportunity, and boo-hoo. I'll probably phrase it a little bit nicer than that, but that's going to be kind of the pitch. Now, parallel to that, that doesn't negate what we're already going to be doing. For the month of December, we're going to be doing local fundraising, because we're going to send out the flyer into every mailbox, which will bring them to the website. We already have the feature in the magazine coming out in January, but we are featured in the December magazine, December 10th, which will come to our website. We're participating in a couple of local fundraising drives for like different schools, and we'll have our website up, which actually is really cool, because I would have done it anyway, because I always do charity, but to kind of influence or persuade people, they're like, hey, listen, it's a great business opportunity. We'll like highlight your business, put up the website. And I'm like, okay, cool, even better. So it gave me the idea that like, why don't we just put $100 to every single one? And all of a sudden, everyone in town, everywhere they go, they like Beyond Freehold, Beyond Freehold, Beyond Freehold. So it's a lot of things that will be happening in December that are all perfectly aligned, or not perfectly, but specifically designed to be aligned with the money that we need to raise. Because January, it's like we go. January 5th or 6th, whatever the Monday is our first week. Now for the AI agency, I don't have the time to actually hire all these individuals and build out the curriculum in December. So what I'm going to do is actually do the hiring for that first week. So we have the space, it's paid for, or we're going to be paying for it. So we'll do the hiring, and if we don't have the funds raised by then, that first week will be investor presentations. Hey, listen, come in, we have lunch served, we have desks, we have tables, we have all of that already there. So there are a lot of moving pieces, but not volatilely so. Like it's all going the right direction. So really, if I had to do and I have 4 minutes left because I have to be on a call at 11:30. So really, if I had to kind of lay it out next steps, I got to complete the white paper today. I got to organize and watch the AI program and organize all the programs we've been approved for. I got to organize all of our licensing and registrations and blah. I have to create an offering doc, which should be easy-ish. And if I could do all that today, which is so funny, it's like you're going to do it. Yeah, that's kind of like, I don't know what else to say. Like I wake up with I have to, okay. If I could get all of that done today, which might spill over a little bit to tomorrow, then tomorrow, I have a doctor during the day, just checkup, which I tried to get out of, but my doctor's like, Anthony, you can't keep 1 weeking me, right? And I'm like, all right, fine. Geez, tough crowd. Once I complete that, then I can actually organize all of the contacts for I'm over optimistic. I could I can organize all the contacts for my town, and obviously being mayor, there's monthly like get-togethers. I'm going to attend the next one, which I hope is soon. That'd be cool if it was this week. But then the rest of the week, can I commit to that? Delivering those things? I think I can. I think I can commit to that by Friday. I would have delivered and made all the contacts I need to on those packages. Because if that's the case, then I can double and triple and be quite annoying, right? I can just be like, hey, Mayor, it's me again. I left you a message 5 minutes. I could be like your high school ex-girlfriend. And I say this not to be funny, although that I am kind of being funny. Like when people say to me like, oh, Aunt, you talk about money like it's nothing. You're just going to raise 3 million, or, oh, you're just going to get the mayor on. Yeah, because I don't know why the answer is no. Oh, well, it's tough. Okay. Oh, it's normal people don't do it that way. Nobody really knocks on his, like, these aren't reasons. In fact, these are reasons that I see as why I will get it done, because no one else is doing it, which means I'll be the guy doing it. It's, when you tell me no, that's where I start. And I'm obnoxious, I promise you. I'm, yeah, it is what it is. So, okay, I brought it right to 11:30. I appreciate so many people being on. It might be one of those, thank you, it might be one of those, well, like, we're just seeing if you actually have a pulse because no one's seen you in God knows how long. But I do appreciate so many people on. And I do appreciate everyone, still believing. And I want to say still believing, like, oh man, but like, there's been a lot of evolutions and it's been a long road. People that have less patience would have said, kick rocks. People that have less vision or less belief would have said kick rocks. So when I see this many people, I know that we're touching on something. And honestly, and I gotta go, but that white paper, I don't expect everyone to read it, but if you actually did read it or at least skim through it, and I tried my best to do like a source of contents or whatever that thing is called in the front, it's really, really good. Like again, I'm totally biased, but I walk around all day like, we have the solution. Like you guys, I don't even get bothered by people talking about AI because I know it means nothing. Oh, we're gonna do this. No, you're not. You guys don't even know that we're like secretly hiding behind everyone, and you have no fucking clue. At least I always bleep out the curse words. All right, I do love y'all. I will have this up on the YouTube in a little bit, right? Maybe like an hour. I'm lying. By the end of the day. Okay? I love y'all. And happy Thanksgiving. Eat a turkey. I'll be here working, but I do have my kids in the morning, which is totally cool. Love y'all. Bye.